students. This is Julia, your garden teacher. I miss you so much. It's been really hard to not get to hang out with you in the garden for a while. But because we're doing school remotely, I still wanted you to get a chance to see your garden and see how it's been growing and changing since you've been gone. There's lots of exciting things happening around the school. Looks like you're getting like a whole new part of your school built at the same time. So yeah, lots of things are changing, but your garden is still here, still waiting for you. And I just want to make sure you know, like, even if you've never been out to this garden, it belongs to you. This space is for all of the students and teachers at Butler Acres to learn and to taste some good food and to just kind of have a quiet spot, or not so quiet. Have a place to be out in nature. And with that, why don't we look around the garden a little bit and see what has been changing and growing. So this archway is one of my favorite parts of the garden. If you notice, there's lots of plants that grow up this. They like to have something to climb on. So this is a type of squash, but instead of being a type of squash that we would eat, this is a loofah squash. Have you ever heard of like a loofah? It's like a scrubby thing that you use to scrub in the shower. Well, this plant, if we were to pick this squash and then let it dry out, it would turn into something that looks like a loofah. It's kind of all stringy and scrubby like a sponge. So I was really excited to grow some of these this year. And it's a really good lesson for us to think about, like, we eat a lot of plants. That's why we grow a lot of them, but there are also other reasons to grow plants. We've also got some dill here, which is a super smelly, delicious flower. It's actually one of my favorite smells. And if you've ever had dill pickles, you'll probably recognize this smell, because when you make a pickle, which is basically a cucumber, you've put in a brine, which is some water with salt and vinegar and stuff in it, and dill, if you let that soak in there, it turns the cucumber into a pickle. So a lot of times our pickles are flavored like dill.
Yummy.
Super yummy. Let's see what else is growing on this. These are a super fun little plant. These are called mouse melons, and you can probably see why. It just looks like a miniature watermelon. So cute. Even though it looks like a watermelon, it's actually a type of cucumber. So if I bite into it, you can actually see the seeds look more like a cucumber. It's not red or fruity on the inside like a melon. But yeah, they taste kind of like a little tiny cucumber. And we were talking about dill with the pickles earlier. You can turn these into tiny pickles, and they're delicious. So maybe you'll pick some and try to make some into pickles for us. So those are the mouse melons. And look at, they really like to climb. Look at that, they're trying to go all the way over the top. Good job, mouse melons. I found it. Look at, oh my gosh. The cutest thing. Oh my goodness.
I bet it's friends with the mouse melon.
Oh, probably. Look at, it's even kind of fuzzy too. So this is a little tiny gourd. So like the loofah, this isn't actually something we would eat, even though it does look kind of delicious. This will grow a little bit bigger, and it'll kind of have a really hard shell on the outside, and people sometimes use it as like a fall decoration to put on their table. And you can kind of see this gourd kind of tells the story of how it formed. You see this kind of part at the end? That is the old flower petals. It's kind of starting to die, but you can see what happens is first it makes the flower, and then a pollinator comes into the flower and it pollinates it, and then that flower will start to transform into the fruit of the plant, which that gourd is. So it'll have seeds in there. So yeah, it's a cool plant too.
I think there's a bigger one around the corner.
Ooh.
Did you see it? Should we
Yeah,
check?
let's go check it out. Oh my gosh, yes, look at them.
That's
There's
really
a
pretty.
little teenage gourd. So that'll get even bigger. Oh, and here's another one. Aren't they beautiful? Look at how unique they are. In some cases, people will grow gourds specifically to dry them out and scoop the insides out, and then you can use them as a tool. So like, what if we cut cut the top part of this off and we scooped out the inside. We could use it as like a little spoon or something like that. So gourds are a pretty fun plant to grow. All right, well, maybe we'll head over to another part of the garden. There's another plant. It looks like it's a little bit sad, but it tells, again, it tells us a story about what happened. So this is another type of bean. This is called a fava bean. And we actually planted this last fall. Maybe if you came into the garden, maybe you helped plant some of these. And this is a plant that actually really helps our soil. It adds a chemical called nitrogen to the soil because in its roots, there's some really cool bacteria. Let's see if I can actually pull up some of the roots if it's not completely rotted. Yeah, you may not be able to see it here. But there are little nodules, little kind of round things on the roots, and that's where some bacteria live. And they actually take nitrogen from the air and turn it into nitrogen that plants can eat in the soil. So the plant and that bacteria work together to help the soil.
They make a good team, huh?
They are a great team, yes. And so I just left this in the garden to sort of decompose. But we can also see that this fava bean has been making new seeds for next year. Look at how nice and big those seeds are. We see this old fava bean shell, and look, there's a little slug on there. What do you think that slug is doing? Maybe the slug's having a little snack, eating some of this dead bean pod, and you see how it's kind of turning brown, and it's kind of flaking apart. Well, if we were to leave this alone for a long time, creatures like slugs and worms and bacteria, things that we can't even see with our eyes, they're so small, are going to be eating this. I won't eat it though. And they eat it, and as they eat it, it gets broken down into smaller and smaller pieces until it actually starts to turn into soil. You can kind of see where that's been happening right there with the wood chips. So that means decompose, something turning from something, basically transforming from something that was alive into soil. Decomposition is pretty magical. I have another plant here that has sort of transformed. Believe it or not, this is a carrot plant.
What?
Kind of wild, right? It doesn't really look like a carrot from this point of view, does it? Because when we eat carrots, we're usually eating the roots. Let's see what its root looks like.
Oh, whoa.
Kind of looks like a carrot, yeah? So what happened with these carrots is instead of harvesting them when they're greens, when their leaves were kind of small, and when the root was big, we decided to leave them in here this winter. And when we leave a carrot to keep growing, instead of just making a bigger and bigger root, at some point it says, you know what? It's time in my life cycle to start making baby carrots. So what it does instead is it takes all of kind of that sugar and nutrition that was stored in the root, and it uses it to build this super tall stalk and these leaves, and then look at that, it makes a flower. So these were some beautiful white flowers at one point, and then those flowers produced some seeds. All right, students, I'm here with one of our apple trees, and I'm just going to show you really quick a good way to tell if an apple is ready to pick yet. Because sometimes when we pick an apple, if we just pull it right off the tree and bite into it, maybe it's not ready to eat yet. It'll be super sour. But a way to avoid that is you can gently take the apple and turn it a quarter turn. So, and if it doesn't pop off, then it is not ready yet. So let's try this one. Okay, so that one did pop off. So that just means that the stem, if you just turn it a little bit, the stem is like, okay, I'm ready. And it'll pop off. So that nice, beautiful apple is ready. And into the garden last fall, maybe you got to taste some of these, but these are Asian pears. And look at how beautiful they are. So many of them growing. That nice, beautiful color. So Asian pears are like a little bit more crunchy than the pears we usually get in the store, like European pears. And they have just like a really unique flavor. They're one of my favorite snacks. And something I learned this year is that, do you remember when we had kind of some bad smoke a couple of weeks ago? I learned that eating Asian pears is actually a really good thing to do for your body after you've been breathing in some smoke, that it helps your body kind of get rid of the smoke. All right, friends, well, thanks so much for tuning in for this little tour of the garden. I hope you got to see some plants that were maybe familiar to you, or new plants. Maybe you got to learn something. Yeah, again, I just wanted to let you know how much I'm missing you, how much the garden misses you. But this place is waiting for you. It's here, and it will be here when we come back to school. And I'm really looking forward to when I can see you out here again. Take care, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.
Our cute little snail friend on the compost misses you too. Bye, buddy.